6 cents out of a nickel thought of the day. I grew up with a very interesting advantage in life. My dad was 44 years my senior, which means that, he was a relatively old man by the time, but when I was a kid. And this caused a few issues. He didn't have the kind of energy to do things with me, play ball outside or go on bike rides with me or things like that. One advantage, though, that it did have was the fact that he was older and a little bit wiser, and the people around him had a lot to say about life as well. So as a kid, I got a much older perspective on life. There's certain things that you think are important when you're young that, as you get older, your perspective changes and you realize some of those things aren't really so important after all. And I got a bird's eye view of some of that stuff, when I was very young. Well, I realized that, not everyone has a wise old owl that they can refer to get ideas and bounce concepts off of and maybe try to figure this life out, as complicated as it is. Especially if you have a lot of younger family members or you just hang around people your own age. So the thing I want to really kind of make you think about today is think about trying to find somebody who's significantly older than yourself and start up conversations with them. Have them talk about their childhood. Have them talk about their life. And of course, you're going to get some of the old stories, walked uphill both ways in snow 10 feet deep or whatever they remember it as. Because sometimes the details kind of get lost in the years. But humanity really doesn't change very much. The struggles of youth are the struggles of youth, regardless of the generation. The struggles that I had to deal with when I was young, my dad had to deal with when he was young. My daughter had to deal with when she was young. My daughter's still dealing with some of the stuff that I had to deal with at that point in time. Life is a constant learning process, and we can learn a lot from talking to people who were there before us. Well, times change, you're going to say. Well, yeah, of course they change. The internet wasn't really readily available when I was a little kid. And the internet was far from a dream when my dad was a kid. In fact, most of my dad's stories involve horses, cows, pigs, and the horse and carriage. That was a lot of what they did. But the struggles were all the same. So if you just kind of filter out the details a little bit and just pay attention to the struggles, the humanity side of it, I think you can find things that you can relate to. And sometimes you can even help them out with long-standing puzzles that have bothered them their entire lives. I remember my parents came to me because they didn't understand the whole concept of transsexuals. And they asked me to explain it to them like I'm an expert of some kind. I don't know. I'm just an average guy who has an average understanding. So I tried to explain it to them the best that I could. And when I was done, my dad looked at me and said, "Oh, that explains some things. We had a guy down home and, he would dress up in women's clothing and stuff like that. And we didn't think he was right, but, maybe there was something to that. Maybe there was more going on than what we figured back then." Because really, the concept didn't really occur to people in those days. So the whole concept could be mutually beneficial for everyone involved. Which, as far as I'm concerned, is a good enough reason by itself to have that conversation with somebody who's a bit older. So where do you find these older people that you might be able to have these interesting conversations with? Well, if they come from your family, that's probably the best, because then they have the common history that you can relate to. But if you don't have any wise old owl members of your family, you can always volunteer at a nursing home or find places where older people congregate. Even strike up a conversation with somebody in the lineup at the grocery store or the convenience store. You can learn a lot from even just a 30-second conversation. And as you have these conversations over time, you'll get a perspective. There'll be some sort of a consensus that emerges that you'll be able to recognize. Anyhow, that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for more content. Thank you very much. Until next time.